Okay. So welcome. Happy New Year 2026. How y'all feeling? So my perspective, so I've been doing these lives or these New Year's uh meetups for many years. So I started doing them for the First Spiritualist Church in East Providence when they were opening. I had the New Year's service and I would give people insight as to last year and this year. They unfortunately closed during the pandemic, I believe in 2020. And so, as Zoom popped up, I started doing these online. I did not do one last year. Last year, I got married and it was too busy of a time, but I'm glad to be back doing this so that you can understand where I'm coming from. So, what I'm going to share tonight is a compilation of what I have seen and experienced in my practice over the last 9 years, and then giving insights as we have just entered globally a new 9 year cycle. So I might talk a little bit about astrology, a little bit about the Chinese New Year, but the perspective of that I'm giving is the themes that I have seen throughout. Now, I have a tendency to attract earth angels in my practice, myself included. Earth angels are the highly sensitive, empathetic, caregivers, service oriented people of the planet. And we're like a special breed. We don't necessarily care about climbing the ladder or the material world, although we definitely like financial stability and security and the benefits of the material world. We have a tendency to seek like comfort and service and connection and compassion. So that's where I'm coming from, and it really is people who have started to awaken, right? People who have started to become conscious. And the more people that are awakening or becoming conscious or aware is profound, which is a wonderful thing. But that can also leave things feeling a little chaotic, a little messy. So, my hope tonight is to almost streamline all those fractions so that you can get a better idea of like where to focus your energy now going into the new year and what the next 9 years, from what I'm seeing so far, looks like. And as you know, we all have free will. There's flexibility. Nothing is ever set in stone. I like to say that, I don't market myself as like a fortune teller or psychic in the sense that's not my calling, but that doesn't mean that as I'm doing work, I'm seeing patterns and I'm getting insight that I'll share. So I usually tell people I'm more of a seer, right? Through the experiences I'm having, and then I can share that with others. So some things I might say tonight, you already know, and tonight might just be a reminder or a validation. Some things I might say tonight might be the exact thing you need to hear. And then some things I might say tonight you may have outgrown. You may have like been there, done that, got it, and keep going on your journey because I'm well aware that we are all at different places in our development, and that's okay. We need that. And yet I'm also well aware that there is a lot of information out there. Content creators are a massive thing right now, and anybody can say anything. So I'm well aware. Well, I try to be mindful that I'm contributing to um like the insight wisdom is a contribution and maybe not like what I call like data overload or overconsumption of data. So I try to stay in my lane. All right, so I'm going to start first by opening up space. I mentioned this earlier, but if you feel free to come in, leave as you may. I don't know how long I'll be going tonight. Those of you who know me know I can talk for a while, but I do want to be mindful of times that we're not here all night. And so I said earlier, if you have any questions about anything that I'm saying, you can just put it in the chat box. And I will go back and I will look at things, later, like towards the end. So I just want to let you know that chat box is open. I may not get to it right away, but if you're like me and if you don't do it right away, you'll forget. Please feel free to use the chat box. And all right, so let me start. I'm going to open up space. I'm going to connect with the energy. And as I do, I always ask, do I have your permission to send you unconditional love and healing and to connect with your energies? And you can give me an energetic yes, because I'm going to tap into the energy of the collective of the people that are here, and maybe also to the people who are going to come and go in the future. So let me start grounding my energy, opening up space, inviting in all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the divine mother and father, and all their holy beings of light that would like to assist with this guidance for us tonight. And I'm going to ask that the guidance that comes through be for our best and highest good and the best and highest good of all concerned. Okay, let me settle in. I have a lot to say. Let me start with a little recap of the last 9-year cycle. In 2016 and 2017, and it's funny because I've been around long enough where I have documentation of me saying this. In 2017, I have a podcast that is called the new like job of the caregiver, the new something of the caregiver. And at that time in 2017, which was a 1 year, I talked about the role of the caregiver changing, and that we were here, that 9-year cycle was going to be about reintegrating true love back on the planet. I knew that was a thing, but now that we're on the end of it and outside of it now, to look back, I had no idea like how incredibly powerful that statement was. So I'm going to talk about the shadow and the light, right? That's part of who I am. I work with people who are doing shadow work, who are going into the emotional, who are, learning and growing. And in that, there's frustration, there's anger, there's sadness, but there's also joy and peace and bliss. So I'm going to share from both perspectives. So if we think about reintegrating true love back on the planet, it really comes back to love of self. And I feel like that has been the theme over the last 9 years, is people have been learning about all aspects of love. I see love as like a diamond, and then light comes in and it just shines off all these colors, right? So love is like a spectrum, and then there is conditional love, and then there's unconditional love, right? And so to reintegrate true love back on the planet in the highest of high light, we really needed to grow into that unconditional love. Now, I know earth angels naturally embody unconditional love, right? It's like an integrity. It's like a part of who we are, which sometimes it can feel like we're getting pummeled by life with like ocean waves, right? It's just like sometimes the hits keep coming. But what I've realized, it's almost like being tumbled like a crystal. So if you think about the last 9 years, a lot of us have felt like we've been in the crystal tumbler, getting polished up. And it's not pleasant. It's not pretty. It doesn't always feel good. And so there's been incredible themes around like learning about self-love and setting boundaries, and that it's okay to create time for self while being in service to others, and also what that looks like, which required us to kind of detox the guilt, the shame, the programs of be what everybody wants you to be. So there's that element. And then you have this relationship dynamic, relationship with friendships. I saw a lot of people who were adjusting their friendships, people that they had been friends with for years, maybe since childhood. You know, as you grow and as you expand in light, anything that's not a vibrational match to that gets presented. And so I think it's important to remember that two things can be true, that we can have friendships and we can treasure the moments and the times that we had with those friendships. And as healing and growing shows up, those dynamics change. And if you don't have two people willing to grow in that, people grow apart. And that is okay. You know, I think that's the hardest part is we want to cling to the romantic partnerships or the relationships or the jobs or the family dynamics that was. You know, I feel like people were really feeling that nostalgia towards the end of 2025 in December of like what was, and even Nick was saying like Christmas was weird this year. It's just weird. It just doesn't feel right. And my word this year was surrender. So, as the words and choosing a word has it, things would come up. And part of my learning this year was surrendering to the will of what is. Like, I may not like it. This is less than ideal, but I can't change it. So I need to surrender to the experience I'm having now and learn from it. Right. So tensions have been high, especially in relationships. People have also lost loved ones, people who they've relied on, people who they depended on. People lost children, people lost parents, people lost their soulmate pets, right? So there was that element. Now, that has happened like all throughout life, all throughout the centuries, but it seemed to be that we were much more conscious and present with the experiences and aware of self as we were navigating these experiences. And as we set boundaries, as we learn the lessons from these experiences that are less than ideal, it's natural that we start to love ourselves on a deeper level. And when I say love yourself, I mean showing up when it matters. If somebody is saying or doing something to you that is unacceptable, people were learning to say, hey, stop, or no, or goodbye, I'm done. And that creates this level of empowerment, right? Love of self. Now, there's these dynamics, the masculine energy, the feminine energy. I'm going to talk about them not necessarily in gender form, but like vibration. Predominantly, women can be more feminine dominant, and predominantly masculine, or men can be masculine dominant. But there is also a gray area in that as well. So, what I have learned is earth angels, and a lot of the female earth angels learned over these last 9 years about love of self. Since the feminine energies, society teaches the feminine energies that in order to be a good person, in order to feel worthy, that you need to give and you need to share and you need to do and put yourself aside, right? So especially over this last couple years, people were learning to like find balance in that. So, coming back to self and putting themselves first. I usually say, even if it's like a hair width to putting self first, where the masculine energies were starting to learn to put service over self. So there is this balance, restoration that's been happening within the masculine and feminine, but also too, that energy has been happening within us too. We embody masculine and feminine energy. So on a healing therapeutic level, where are we bullying ourselves? Where are we criticizing? Where are we being hard on ourselves? And where can we start being aware of that voice and kick it out? And sometimes we can say, hey, that was mom's voice or dad's voice or that bully's voice. And so there was a lot of self awareness and adjusting over the last 9 years. It was pretty intense. So I believe that's, I mean, there's many reasons, but that theme around love, it's astonishing to watch somebody like Taylor Swift become so wildly popular. And if you think about it, she sings about all aspects of love, self-love, love in friendships, love in relationships. And listen, I'm not here to put anybody on a pedestal and saying this one's great or not great, but it speaks to the vibration that of love, and people who were going through experiences that didn't talk about these things that were vindicated or liberated. And really there's beauty behind the safe spaces that were created, right? The energy behind that. So that is just a public example of this detoxing of unconditional, like, dysfunctions around love and kind of coming into self and really feeling good. So that was the last 9 years. And then once we knew these things, that these things in life weren't necessarily contributing to the quality of life that we were creating for ourselves, that's when a lot of people started making changes. And when you have mass amounts of people making changes, it can get intense. Because remember, people are used to you being what they want you to be for them. And when we decide that we don't want to be available at that capacity anymore, it changes things. And so a lot of people had to learn how to embrace the discomfort in the change, in the learning process. And this is where I will always say your relationship to God, your relationship to your divinity, your relationship to your higher self is crucial in this learning, especially as we go into the next 9 year cycle. There is what I call I was going to say a force, but a spirit of influence on this planet. And we see it everywhere. It's like where we can be influenced, right? Where are the trends? TikTok, for example, right? That spirit of influence, and I'm not demonizing anything, but we really have to be mindful of these energies, because if you think about the spirit of influence, somebody does, let's say, a dance on TikTok, and then it becomes wildly popular and everyone's doing, and it's fun. And it's also from an element of influence, right? Whether it's a feeling, whether it is to be part of something. So what what can happen is the false light and the darker forces on this planet can use those things to really confuse us. And so again, that's another element of the distortion of love, where now as we're going into the next 9 year cycle, now would be a really good time to really think about, like, your integrity, what your values are, what's important. We're in this, what I call this sweet spot. I mean, we got the Cancerian full moon tonight, but I'm on the East Coast. So tonight into tomorrow, the Cancerian energy is intense. I know, because I have a lot of it in my chart. It is intense. I am tired. It is an emotional energy. It brings up a lot of energy. So now isn't the best time to be creating. It's a sweet spot in January to almost review, to kind of take space, I know there are a lot of people who, at the end of the year, in December, the last couple of weeks of December, there were a lot of illnesses that went around. There was a lot that people were doing. And in a 9 year, there's not a lot of energy in a 9 year. So it's like trying to do these things, trying to muster up the energy and not feeling like it, right? That's temporary. That's not going to last. So I want to say that so you're not concerned. But here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're also experiencing, especially in the Northeast, winter. It's been snowing too much already, but it's been snowing, which is a gift. It's a mana. It's food. It's magical energy. But now is the time to almost give yourself some space to decompress, to digest the last year, let alone the last 9 years, and give yourself a chance to regenerate, to recuperate, to restore your energy. So the 9 year doesn't have a lot of energy because the theme 2025 was really presenting, what are you sick of, tired, over, and done with? Coming into the end of the year, people became very clear about what that was for them. Now that we know these things, this month of January is a good time to rest. It's a good time to restore yourself and not necessarily escaping into things that are going to like wind you up or that's going to activate your energy. This is like cozy time. It's hibernation time. It's a time to contemplate, especially because I'm hearing often, myself included, that people are at this point where they're like, I don't even know what I want. Like, I have these things, and it's not necessarily for people like houses and cars and all that those things, but it's now like, well, what do I want now going forward? And I like to say, with energy, as we expand in light, and that is like learning, that's clarity, that's like a shifting in the vibration of the ahas, and this feels good. As we're expanding in light, anything that's not a vibrational match to that, and I'll say this often because this is really a great indicator. Anything that's not a vibrational match to that is presented. And it's not for us to trash things or like get rid of things, but it's starting to show us that if you have an opportunity or something that's coming your way, you're not going to stay loyal to something that is not benefiting you. And that is, it could be it could be food, it could be a friendship, it could be a job, it could be coworkers. I mean, there's so many elements of what that is. So understand that the discomfort and the frustration and the annoyances that we're seeing globally, really, I mean, so many people are being triggered, right? And activated because it's like starting to show us what is no longer in alignment to that unconditional love or that energy of love, right? Where we can soften, open, and relax. And in that, we can then take action from that place. Okay, let me see here. So, the sweet spot in January. This would be a good time to start practicing 5 minutes of the inquiry of, God, show me truth. Or, what do I need to know? What have I learned? This is a good one. What have I learned? I feel like I also want to say, if you came into this year with something that's been bothering you, maybe it's a situation, maybe it's an experience it's like hard to release or forgive, this could be a really powerful time, especially in this Cancerian full moon energy, is to ask, what have I learned from this person, place, thing, or idea? Who am I because of it? And how can I move forward one step at a time. Now, these may not be answers that I say the coconut is going to figure out, but this is a good time to sit in contemplation of show me truth. What do I need to know about that? What have I learned from this situation or this person or this experience? And I'm telling you, your inner wise one is so powerful. Or what I also say is your shadow sister, who again, she shows up in the discord and the discomfort and the frustration and the annoyances and the agitations, short fused energy. And sometimes to take time just to sit with that. It's not, I'm going to tell you, it's not comfortable and it's not necessarily easy, but I promise you there's wisdom there. You can capitalize on that now as we're transitioning from a 9-year cycle into a new 1 year, shifting these energies. Now, for me, the new year doesn't necessarily start until February when the Chinese New Year hits. And that's why I call like January the sweet spot. It's like the transitional space. Most likely, if you try to like force things or get things done, it might not work out. You might be even more tired because we're still in this transitional space. And um, as we come down from all the have tos and the shoulds, and maybe you're packing up holiday stuff and organizing and putting things away, I would like to say too, I should, as this is coming up, now would be a really good time to get really good food in your home. It's a great time for comfort foods of like root vegetables and stews and soups, and really coming into being able to nourish yourself through the next couple months. I know people are making things like fire cider, and they are having warm, comforting foods. And now is the time to really ground into this hibernation, winter comfort energy. Okay, so let me check in for a second. I have like 2 pages of notes. I wanted to really cover the 9-year cycle. That's done and gone. I just wanted to mention that as we look back, because that is going to build on what is to come, right? And so 2026 starts a brand new 9-year cycle. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10. And in the numerology, we take a double digit and reduce it to a single digit. So 1 plus 0 equals 1. So that's how we're getting it. Next year will be a 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. 1 is a year for beginnings. And the beauty that I like to see in the 1 year is the mustard seed. Teeny tiny mustard seed, which when you put it in the ground, it's teeny tiny. But what comes out of a mustard seed is basically wild. So you got this teeny tiny seed that you plant in nourishing soil, water, sunlight. And this plant blooms and takes over. And so understand that your soul and what's to come now in this 1 year, you're planting so much potential, things that you can't even possibly fathom can come from the seeds that you plant now. And so it's not necessarily an I want, it is what will nourish me? What do I want more of? For me, when I think about new beginnings in my 1 year, I'm usually planting adventure, play, laughter, fun, freedom. And on the end of freedom, I always put like financial freedom. Like that's my wheelhouse of like my core things that I like to plant. And because my work can be heavy, because I work with people who are grieving or in pain or having challenges, adventure, play, laughter, fun, and freedom to me is a really wonderful balance in my personal life. So this would be a good time to think about like what you want to plant. Maybe it's more peace. Maybe it's time. Maybe it is financial security, knowing that when you plant these seeds, they are as powerful and as vital and as strong as a mustard seed. So in the 9 year, I usually tell people if you're sick and tired, I think I said this in my 1010 reading uh, online live. If you're sick and tired of summer squash or zucchini, do not plant another uh, zucchini or summer squash in the new year. So this is the beauty of the sweet spot, is you can still look at what you're sick and tired of and still start clearing away, getting ready for the things that you want to nourish. And there's just something powerful about the energy of the mustard seed. You know, we're planting, we're coming to God, we're coming to our divinity, these vibrations of unconditional love, and saying, this feels good. I would love more of this in my life, or something even better. It's powerful. And you want to do that when you're feeling that energy. This is how you can use your gift of emotions to really, it's like miracle grow for those things, right? That being said, you want to be mindful of what you're planting. Getting back to the spirit of influence, if you're in this loop of the the negativity and the consuming, I shouldn't say if you're in I shouldn't say you're if you are in the loop of negativity, if you're consuming too much of the spirit of influence around famine and lack and fighting and separation and uh discord and these intense energies that are out there, you want to be mindful that you're not planting more of that. So, that being said, you may need to take a break for a little bit from anything that might be winding you up. Now, I'm not demonizing anything. For example, when I was healing in love and growing in understanding my past relationships and how I was burned and scorned and moving through those energies, I would avoid romantic comedies. I loved them, but I was not in a place that I could enjoy them. It just was more self loathing, and it wasn't benefiting me. Now, I still love those types of movies, but I check in and I say, like, am I in a good place to consume this? So it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but if you want to be mindful of the loops of the things that when you're done watching or when you're done consuming it, it's food, it's being around certain people. Now, we're not here to demonize anyone, but it's more of like an individualistic checking in. Is this contributing to the quality of life I'm creating for myself, especially because right now is so powerful? Because with the Cancerian full moon, it's around home and family and emotions. It's coming up to go out. You're making room for the next new moon that's coming. And now is where we feel the tensions. Now is where we feel the emotional discord and what needs to change. So going back to like that mustard seed, knowing that it might seem small, but yet know that as you plant these vibrations, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be strong. It's going to grow, which is wonderful. But anything that's not going to come along from the ride with that is going to come up. See if I can explain it. It's like learning, right? Learning, if we go back to childhood, learning can be frustrating. For example, a child learning to tie their shoes. If you have a child who has bigger siblings who tie their shoes easily, that younger one, they might not have the fine motor skills yet to tie those shoes, and it takes time, right? They have to practice. And it gets frustrating and they want to do it and their brain says, I can do it. And yet it's not working out. A lot of us are in this space learning because we've outgrown a lot of things. And it's like, well, I want new things. And as we learn, I mean, there's something to rote learning. There's something to doing these things over and over and over again and learning. We have to remember, especially as adults, that learning is still frustrating and it's complicated. And that's okay. That's a stage. It's actually a good thing because you're learning and you're moving beyond what you know. And sometimes, kids will throw the shoes or they'll walk away. And I like to say, Velcro is not the answer. I mean, it seems easier to just buy Velcro, but at some point, we eventually have to learn to tie our shoes, right? Or ride a bike, or learn to write and to read and to do arithmetic and all those things. So, I really want to drive home the message of like patience for like the next few months as we're shifting from a wildly full 9-year cycle into a new 9-year cycle. And one of the best things you can do is be present, right? Here and now. I had a mentor. Oh my God, my mentor, this mentor changed my life. And I'm so grateful to this day. She said back then, be where your butt is. If your butt is here, be here. If it's in the car, be here. If it's at home, be there. If it's at work, be there. This would be a good time to adopt that mantra, right? Being present. And if there are things that you're enjoying, saying to your higher self, to divinity, the divine, God, more of this in my life, or something even better. It's like you're taking those dandelion wishes and blowing them in the wind, but also knowing simultaneously that you're learning and you're growing and you're healing. It's so fascinating to watch this consciousness shift as a person who is like in the field for the last 20 years, where I'm seeing so many thought streams that have just become outdated. And we're going to need in the next 9 years, like the innovators, the creators, the writers, the artists, because new ways of being are developing, which is why in our global systems are like kind of falling apart. And I always say that which is in the dark is going to come to light. So we're seeing that globally, while people are being more aware of saying, yes, please, no, thank you. I am done with this. Absolutely not. No way. And then making the adjustments and taking action. It's really beautiful. As we talk about the 1 year, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Chinese New Year. And we're moving into the fire horse, February 17th. We're leaving the serpent, snake energy. So a lot of us have been shedding. And now we're shifting into this fire horse energy. And before I realized that we were going into the fire horse, I was thinking about like, what is the theme of the next 9 years? Yes, we can capitalize being conscious and sowing seeds in this 1 year of new beginnings. But what is the theme? And I keep seeing the word freedom. Now, freedom, freedom is a loaded word. I think that's what's going to be for the next 9 years is freedom. So we've learned about love. And the freedom comes like now that we know these things, like how far can we go? How much can we create? How expansive can we be? Now, this is not for everyone because the people who are still what I call like maybe in the sleeper world or the unconscious, more of like the societal people. And again, we were all there. It's a stage. There's nothing wrong with that. They may have more challenges with addictions, the spirit of influence, where the limitations are. For example, freeing yourself from financial debt, freeing yourself from a heavy body, freeing yourself from escapism and procrastination and putting things off, freeing yourself from anger, freeing yourself from ABCD, you name it. So there's this beautiful element of freedom, of creating and innovation. And yet there's also, in order to get there, we still have to shed those addictions. And I feel like that is going to be for the next couple of years. It could be ego, it could be self-sabotaging beliefs. So I can't say that everything's going to be amazing, but I can say everything's going to be amazing if you have the understanding and the patience with the process of learning and growth. As I was meditating on freedom and what that looks like, I keep seeing, for me, I keep seeing a painted horse. I love the painted horses. I just think they're incredibly beautiful. The one I see is like brown, white with the brown spots, and they're just wild and majestic and beautiful. And that's what I see going into the next 9 years is this freedom running across the plains. And sometimes that's freeing yourself from maybe a limited income, from a family dynamic that isn't going to get better because we really need to all be accountable and responsible, right? For our own selves, if you're parents, obviously for your children, and to teach them that. And then the shadow part is the codependency, the me, the I, the selfishness, right? And so there's these energies that are playing out that, we have a tendency, earth angels have a tendency to like start making changes ahead of the times. So a lot of what you've learned are going to be the very things you may teach others that will help them free themselves faster in the next 9-year cycle. But we also have to remember that, yes, we can have the wild horse, but then there is also the horse that is in the stable that, like they call it, I believe, I'm not a equestrian or anything, but breaking the horse, right? Breaking the horse so that it would be functional to work and it will listen and be obedient to a degree. And so this is where I'm seeing people who have kind of been in this stable horse analogy of not being well cared for, jumping over the fence and taking off and freeing yourself. That could be your own limiting beliefs. It could be self sabotage. Like I said, it could be in relationship dynamics. It could be friendships. It could be a job. And the fire horse is the energy of like enthusiasm and creativity and bold action. And so this is where February 17th is where we start gaining momentum again, where the energy starts to become fruitful again. So if you're not feeling, hurrah, new year, yay, that's normal. That is okay because we're still in this pocket of time to digest, review, leave what you're going to leave in the last 9 years and saying, okay, if that wasn't it, then what? And you may not know what that is. And again, as you plant these seeds, the beauty is we have to trust in the composition. Let's say we have to trust in the composition of the mustard seed, that it's going to grow into what it's going to be, right? So there's an element of, I'm going to do all these things. And then we need the patience to leave it alone and allow it to break its shell, germinate, start forming roots, breaking ground, and then transforming into something, right? That is the next 9 years. And so if you don't know, if you're not sure, that's fine because it will come to you in the discord, in the discomfort, and I can tell you, I think a lot more people are starting to lessen their responsibilities and how busy they are. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people were sick of, tired, over, and done with is just being busy all the time and not having enough time and running all over the place because the 9 year just doesn't give an abundance of energy for that. So you see here, ask God to show you where it's time to break free. Oh, that's a bold statement. Look at me. Even obviously I got some work on that because I know, but I don't want to know. And so when you're ready, going to that, but the divine is wonderful. It's lovely. They're your best friends. They're always going to come in with messages that are uplifting and empowering and comforting. Never ever shame, guilt, blame, should haves, or anything like that. So creating that relationship with your divinity to then go to God and say, show me where it's time to break free, especially if you're not sure. This would be the time to do that. You can say also, too, show me truth, right? Show me what I'm not seeing. And I can tell you, most likely, it's not with what everybody else is doing, it's with our own selves and what we need to learn, right? Sometimes we can get caught poking our noses over like who's doing what and why are they doing that. And again, there's nothing wrong with knowing what's going on, but sometimes we can avoid our own work because we're too busy watching everything else that's going on. For me, I've learned I've got to trust God. I've got to trust God that there's a plan. There are a lot of things happening that I don't agree with, that I don't like, but I am one person and I can't do my job effectively if I've got my business in too many things that is none of my business, right? And so ask, like, what is your business? Where should you be focusing your energy? Knowing that that could come in through discord, through discomfort. Um, Now would be the time to really nourish those healthy relationships. Now would be the time to really dig in and do the work with a partner, a friend, if you're interested in another job, now would be the time to look at your resume again because you're releasing in this Cancerian full moon. At this time, you're releasing in order to break free. So there's so many other examples, but relationships was a big one. And like health and self is another big one. And I usually like to start at the root chakra and work my way up, right? If I'm working with a client, as I open space with them, I look at where I'm guided on their chakra system. And remember, if we're not financially stable, it's very difficult to get into yes, we can certainly get into the intuitive, we can certainly get into the vision. But if we're not financially stable, that which comes in, we might be able to sustain, we might not have the finances for it. So this would be a good time to start with the root chakra, like stability, support, security, obviously God first and foremost, but then of ourselves, like, are we creating stability and safety and support for our own selves? Then we work up to the sacral chakra, which is our creativity, right? Which again is going to be really fruitful in the next 9 years. But the shadow element of the sacral chakra is addictions and cycles and patterns and loops that are not benefiting us, right? Then we go up to our solar plexus, and that's stress and that's powerlessness. It's a level of empowerment. How can we find ease in our life? Obviously, heartache, betrayals, working with grief, unconditional love up through the throat. Where are we suppressing what we have to say, and so on and so forth. So if you're not sure where to start, the root chakra is a good start. How do you feel about that? Show me truth. Where do I need to break free in that? So the big changes I'm seeing for people who are trying to free themselves will be in their health and the decisions they're making and what they're consuming, their finances, where they're spending their money, where they're saving, whom they're spending their money on. And do you feel good about that? Are you feeling abundant? And then health, money, and I want to say relationships, especially romantic partnerships, because that's a big one. Remember, people need people. I know we have a lot of new technology coming in. AI is a big thing. There are some elements of AI that I think are fantastic. Neurofeedback machines, bioenergetics, things like that are incredible. And yet, I also know there's a big shadow element to AI, right? Which is going to create job changes. It's going to create changes in the corporate system. So remember, as Earth Angels, we're being prepared because the needs of humanity and the needs of people are going to change. And we're, in a sense, the way showers because we're not afraid to do the work, even though a lot of times we feel like we're just above the waterline, right? You are the way showers. You are the truth bearers. You are the crystals of the planet. You are the light. That's why so many people are attracted to you. And we've really had to learn how to set boundaries, right? And also understand that our frequencies and our energies are either going to inspire people or it's going to bother people. And that's okay, right? That's not our responsibility for people. And this is where we've been learning this balance and this love of self and these boundaries. So, moving into the space of growth, and I'm seeing an influx of 20 somethings. Gosh, the 90s babies and the early 2000s babies, I'm seeing a lot of 22s, 24-year-olds to like 29, 34-year-olds. I mean, it's wild times. And the message that keeps coming for them is where you're going may not even exist yet. And so we're seeing these fascinating changes in these industries. Like I'm seeing more therapists who are doing integrative work and psycho-spiritual work. And so many things are changing that it's important that your energy is aligned and it's connected. And so that's why I keep driving home the point about healing and growing. And it's frustrating and we don't know what we're doing and it's annoying and it's bothering us, but we're seeing the loops, we're seeing the patterns, and we're being asked to make changes. And when we do that, that changes the whole system, right? We're all one, and yet we were individuals in that oneness. We each are a piece of the puzzle. And so in this new beginnings year, this would be a good time to ask God, what's your piece? Every single piece of a puzzle, well, in a traditional puzzle, is different. And they all fit into the big picture, right? And gosh, if you've ever done a puzzle and you finish it, it's liberating. It's great. It's a sense of accomplishment, right? And so this is where like humanity and the earth angels are really starting to kind of shift into this element of freedom and seeing where we fit and enjoying it. But remember, it's not going to benefit us to keep our brains and our minds and our intention on 10 or 15 different things that maybe we have control or we don't have a control over. So ask God to show you where you fit, show you what your cause is, show you where you may be of service. And friends, I'm telling you, sometimes that might be to your own self, that might be to your own home, that might be to you being cozy in bed for a little bit, just to get some replenishment, some restoration. Because I truly believe when you feel good, the people around you naturally feel good. And when they feel good, the people around them feel good. And when they feel good, the people around them feel good. And the spirit of influence on this planet does not want you to feel good. It wants you to be in fear. It wants you to worry. It wants you to feel out of control. Why? Because you will go outside of yourself and you'll spend the money and you'll buy things and you'll eat things and you'll consume things that will contribute to the pride and the greed and all of that on the wrath and all of that on the planet. It's all choices. Neither is good or bad. It's just deciding where you want to spend your time and energy. All right. Gosh, I've said a lot of things. Let me see. Let me check in. Okay. Are people still here? Yes, people are still here. Okay, good. Let me see. Thank you for being here for this to this point. I want to share a little more about the future years, where learning a lot about the creative process. And as technology takes over some things, um, as technology takes over some things, other things are going to pop up, or there's going to be a need for other things. So I think in the next 9 years, we're going to start seeing more innovators, more creators, right? More people with ideas. And there are a lot of earth angels who have learned about the the creative process, who have written books or who have ideas of writing books, who enjoy, baking, who enjoy creating things, even the builders of the world, of getting a vision, healthy builders, I'm saying, who are building things that are more sustainable and things that are more efficient. And we're going to need more of that going forward. So, getting back to those 20 somethings and 30 somethings, we're really teaching people how to go down and in to listen to the wisdom, as opposed to like up and out in the traditional education system. Now, that doesn't mean all or nothing, one is good or bad over the other, but the right brain people, I mean, it's going to be our time to shine, right? The intuitives, the healers, the caregivers, the people who understand like the emotional balance and the emotional well-being. Those are going to be things that are going to come in. So we're still in this process of shedding so that we can make room for those new ideas to come in. We'll need to find new ways of caring for people, how to be of service. One of the things I wrote down is the frauds are being exposed. So, I mean, I don't want to say too much about that, but that which is in the dark will come to light. And so patience is really important right now. I mean, it's really exciting times. And yet, I mean, it can be really scary too, to be honest, because there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of unknown. Um, the creative process, there is this middle part of the creative process where people start to doubt or they're not really sure. That's the part where they're getting past what they know and they're starting to learn something else. The best way I can describe the creative process is when a couple of years ago, I was trying to decorate a Christmas tree and I wanted to do the ribbons that came down the side. And I had this vision for what it would look like. So I went out, I bought the ribbon, I did the things. And I'll tell you, this tree did not look like the Pinterest boards at all whatsoever. And I remember thinking, like, why do I bother? I don't know what I'm doing. Something in me said, this is part of it. The frustration is part of it. Walk away. And then I was talking to my cousin about it, and she said, remember, hate it till you love it. So we have to remember, if we're in that place of frustration, in that place of learning, that we're in a stage and we need to keep going. And so I eventually went back to it. I took things off. I think I listened to some like videos, and I remember being so proud that I stuck with it. And that year, I absolutely loved my tree. It was when I was single in my bachelorette pad with my doggy, and I did this tree, and it was beautiful. But I remember I took away from that. I'm like, this is the creative process. It is taking an idea that's nothing and making it something. And I think that's the hardest thing for people in creativity is the self-doubts, the insecurities come up, or the annoyances that it's not happening faster than we want it to. And we have to remember we have 9 years, right? To grow something, to plant the seeds. The 2 years when the seed busts out of the shell, and germinates. The 3 year is when the shoots start coming up, but they haven't broken down. The 4 years when the shoots start coming out of the ground. So now is a really powerful time to navigate this creative process with starting it, but also remembering that the frustration and the challenges that come with learning new things, which we're learning a lot of new things, is part of it. So loosening the collar a little bit and giving yourself space. And that's the part of the last 9 years that we learned about the self-love, the healthy self-talk, the gentleness, with the learning process, especially when you're making big adjustments in life. Okay. I said a lot of things. That's my, I think, spiel for this 1 year planting seeds. You might be surprised. You might be presented with different seeds that you didn't expect, but ask God, show me what I need to know. Show me where I fit. The key word for this year is beginnings, new beginnings. The color is red. We're starting with the root chakra, obviously with the ground. So to really embrace this energy this year, red is a really good color. Ruby is the gem or the crystal for this year. So if you have rubies, really embrace it. Rubies are just, gosh, they're beautiful. I love rubies. They're magical and they're powerful, right? They pack a punch. So harnessing that energy would be really great. And the mantra for this year, 2026, is I break new ground and begin new ventures. And you want to do that from here, right? From the heart chakra, not necessarily from the coconut. I mean, there's science behind the frequencies that go from the heart to the brain are so much more faster than the brain trying to get the heart to do something, right? So this is where contemplation says, God, show me, to receive, to create space to receive the inspirations. And then when you're feeling good, more of this or something even better, more of this or something even better. This feels good. Those are your wishes in the wind. So that is your power for 2026. Knowing that when you do that, anything that's not a vibrational match needs to be come up and out, and it will be presented. And that's where we have to do the work, right? So we're working in harmony with the energies instead of like fighting it. It's no longer like, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to get this, which is our traditional education system. And now we're kind of moving into like the divine, more feminine of flow and cycles and rhythms and divine timing. And that takes practice, right? Because we still live in this world. And it's basically, I say, it's like New York and Hawaii. We still need New York to get up and go, to like do the things. But now we're kind of embracing like, how do I feel? Flow, color, beauty, radiance. And that's where the inspirations get activated. So I am going to finish. I think I've been talking for like an hour now. So I'm going to finish with pulling some cards. I miss doing the cards. If you're still here and you have any questions about anything that I said, feel free to put it in the chat box. But I'm going to pull a couple cards for really whomever's going to watch this, those that are here, and then those who are yet to see it. So I'm going to start with my Archangel Oracle card deck. I really enjoy these cards. And I'm going to ask, what would be the most beneficial angel that wants to work with us, at least for this first month or going into 2026? Whom is an angel that you can connect with, that can support you for this month, January, and going into 2026? And all I'm going to do is shuffle the deck, and I'm just going to wait for one to pop out. Oop, oop, oop. Okay. Okay. There's a bunch there, so more clarity, more clarity. Oop. There it is. They're wiggly today. Oh, I love this. So Archangel Ariel. That's her. That's her card. So her word is sacred activist. It says Ariel is the angel of courage and bravery and strength. She helps us find balance. If you're a person who has, like, let's say a mom, let's say, who has raising kids and working a job and taking care of a household and nourishing a relationship. So Ariel is phenomenal for helping you with balance for all the things. And her message says, protect what is right and just. Let love lead the way. And so this is it's a perfect energy of the last 9 years of learning about love, and what's just and what's fair, what feels good. And now going forward into action, right? Bold action with the fire horse. Let love lead the way. I love that she's got a lioness in the center of her heart, right? Being bold and fierce. Lots of great energy for going forward. And so the next card deck I have one more. I have this one and then another one. This is my power of surrender cards. So I've said a lot of things tonight. And so I'm going to ask the divine where they feel would be the best place to start. What can we surrender now for the best success going into 2026? I'm going to ask what they think would be the best thing to surrender. So this is an action now. And again, I'm just going to shuffle the deck and I'm going to wait for one to pop out. All right, let's see here. It's so good. Surrender to complete healing. Right? And look at this beautiful soul with her arms open up to the sky. Oh my gosh. And it says, open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. Right? So it's an openness. It is opening the heart chakra to receive. And again, it goes back to healing, right? And the journey of healing and what that looks like. And when we're mature and we're emotionally mature, I should say, and grounded and focused, it's powerful energy. And so, gosh, I love how they're both centered around love. Let love lead the way and open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe. Basically, work with the divine. They will show you the way. Sometimes that is part of it too, is that I can do it myself. I can figure it out. The divine is saying it may get a little wild. So you want to create that relationship to connect. And then I'm going to finish with a message from God. These are my love and light cards. A little light. And so I'm going to ask God, the divine mother and father, what is the most important message that they want you to hear, see, feel, and know in the beginning of this new year, in the beginning of this brand new 9-year cycle, this new star energy? What is the most important thing God wants you to hear, see, feel, and know? And I'm just going to, again, shuffle the deck and wait for one to pop out. So there's 2 here. So they might go together, or I would say there's 2 here. So if you're listening, take in whichever one resonates with you. The first one is connecting with the living water. Is beautiful energy being playful in the water, which again is so beautiful with the Cancerian energy coming in. So the message says, the sea belongs to him, for he made it. His hands formed the dry land too. And that's Psalm 95:5. What's beautiful is in this card, she is holding her hands out to the dolphin. And so this could be actually getting close to water, or this could be actually getting out in nature. Now, I mean, you can actually go to Psalm 95:5, read more about that, 95 verse 5, read more about that. There could be more that comes from that. But it makes me think of Jesus and the living water and being connected to that vibration of unconditional love is what can sustain us. So I feel like part of this message is going back to that living water, that which sustains us. And it could be a new meditation practice. It could be a new prayer practice, over the next month that you adopt, finding your way with that. And then the other card says, helping others is helping self. So again, it goes back to how are we being of service? And the message says, for the whole law can be summoned up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Galatians 5:14. What a way to end. If we think about globally what's happening, helping others is helping self. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, this doesn't mean love poor behavior, love abuse, love. That is not what we're saying. It is understanding that people are at a stage, they're in a place. Remember, people are under influence, they're on medications, there is obviously like drugs and alcohol and, just under influence. So we can love from a distance too, right? And understand that all people are learning and at a stage, and some people are teachable right now and some people are not, and that's okay. So I feel like it reminds me of the Jesus and the tax collectors, right? So, he did not like what they were doing. He was flipping tables, but he didn't stay there to try to convince them to be something else, to do something better. He took that anger and he channeled it into a passion to go be of service to the people who are open and ready to learn, right? So love your neighbor as yourself, knowing that, people are doing the best they can. And that force of influence, that spirit of influence is powerful. And for what is that? Forgive them for they know not what they do. Now, that doesn't mean we're sitting here righteous and that we know it all, but there's a humility that says, God, I'm learning from this. How do we learn to remain peaceful amongst the chaos? How do we learn to remain steadfast and grounded amongst the emotional turbulence that is global right now? God says, love your neighbor as yourself. Understand people are where they're at. And then go take any frustrations you have in that and channel that into something beautiful. On that note, let me close space, thanking all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the divine mother and father, and all their holy beings of light that assisted with this guidance, especially the archangel Ariel. Ariel sends bunnies, sends the lioness. Her color is this beautiful, like not light but not dark pink. That's how you know she's around. So you can call on her. Obviously, God and Jesus and the divine mother are all beautiful beings to work with. And I'm going to ask that any healing that was started today continue for as long as it needs to be done. And so it is. And that's your guidance. That's your guidance for 2026. Oh gosh. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, I'm so glad. I am working on public speaking. I'm working on getting more comfortable with technology. I do hope to do this more. Oh, you missed the angel cards. Oh, Jen, I know. I really want to get back to it. I have been working on this year of like a schedule and a routine and balance. And so these are the things I want to get back to. I want to get back to podcasting again, sharing insights, hoping that we have more energy in the coming year to be able to do more of that. But thank you. All of those of you that have been here, that have been supporting, that have been watching, thank you so much for your support. I love my job. I love my work. I love working with people. I love sitting with people and learning and listening to their stories. And I'm not able to do that if people are not open. So all of you, those that have been there, oh, that's so cool. Shantae, did you do that? Hope you have the best year. Happy 2026. That's cool. It just came up really bold. I love my work and I love my job. And, I've been doing this for 18 years and I cannot thank you enough for your support, for your kind words, for your encouragement. Because really, I don't know what people want to hear and what they like. And I know what I'm learning. So I'm so grateful to be able to do this work. And it's really because of those of you who are watching and listening and showing up and supporting. You're sharing with me or with your friends and your family. And I cannot thank you enough for that. On that note, Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for listening. This will be on YouTube, hopefully within the hour, if not today, tomorrow at some point. If you want to go back and listen, it'd be great if you want to share it. If not, just the watches and the views are fine. So, Tiffany, oh, you're welcome. Jen, oh, Janet, hi, friend. Shantea, Dean's phone, iPhone. Thank you so much, Karen, Jen. Gosh, two Karens. Thank you so much for being here. All right, you enjoy your night. Have a fabulous weekend, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, bye.